Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Katia Figueiredo, and I'm here today to welcome you to one of the Innovire Open Market Consultation events. Today, the Delft University of Technology takes center stage with its challenge called MDR-prep. So we are going to start this session with a warm welcome from Bertrand Vert, setting the stage for an exciting hour of innovation exploration. And then you will gain insights into the Innovire program, the driving force powered by the European Innovation Council that fuels organizational growth. And then the really important part, Jean-Marc Terriet from the Delft University of Technology will present you a pressing challenge that requires an innovation solution. So obviously, as an open market consultation event, the attendees, so you are more than welcome to engage with the speakers, and we will have a Q&A section of the event for that. And there will be two ways for you to participate in the discussion. You can either raise your hand, and you will be given the ability to unmute yourself and to ask questions, to provide some feedback, or you can instead use the Zoom Q&A box to write your questions, your comments, your remarks. One final practicality, this event is being recorded for dissemination purposes in the scope of the Innovire project. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce you Bertrand Vert from the European Innovation Council to share a few words about today's event.
Very good afternoon, Katia, and everyone. Thank you very much, and I'm very happy to be here for the fourth open market consultation that we organize today, actually, and we will have much more to follow. We will have 11 more actually in the next days. So all these open market consultation are all business opportunities from the suppliers for the startups, SMEs, notably that we are trying to target on one side, and on the other side, it's also a possibility for buyers, procurers, public in this case, in the case of University of Delft, but also private buyers, corporates. It's an opportunity also for them to source new suppliers and to potentially buy new and innovative solutions. So I'm Bertrand Wert. I'm talking from Brussels here, from the European Commission and from one of the departments of the European Commission in charge of research and innovation programs. I do work for the European Innovation Council, and within the European Innovation Council, actually we have a budget of 10 billion euro to be spent or invested over 7 years in the most innovative and promising businesses and startups and SMEs, European ones. And that's actually also the intention of this specific program, Innovire, and where we are supported by this nice consortium led by F6S, where TIC Biomed and Civita are also part of. And this program, Innovire, actually is one of our actions in relation to innovation procurement to try to bridge the gap between the suppliers of innovation and the procurers of innovation. The idea behind these market consultations, open market consultation, is to try to co-create, so between the both procurers, buyers on one side and suppliers of innovation on the other side. So I really wish that today's open market consultation, led by the Technology University of Delft and by Jean-Marc Terriet. Hello, Jean-Marc. Will actually bring all the expectations that TU University Delft has in looking for innovative solutions. I will close my introduction by saying that it's an honor actually to work with such a nice, old, and very well established universities such as the TU Delft. Yeah, we really hope, and we're convinced even that we will support you guys to find very innovative companies to launch this pilot, and really hope that EAC companies will be involved in this journey. So this is just the beginning. And for you here today, or for the one that will watch this recording later on in the next days, yeah, we are at your service to go further on the journey of innovation procurement. Just get in touch with Katia, with Innovire, or with us directly. Thank you very much, Katia.
Thank you, Bertrand. Thank you. So, before we move to the challenge presentation, what you are expecting, just a few words about Innovire, just some context. As Bertrand was saying, Innovire is a project funded by the European Union via the European Innovation Council, and it is operated by 3 partners, so F6S, CVITA, and TIC Biomed. And in a nutshell, what is Innovire? Innovire brings together public or private organizations that we call challengers and innovative SMEs that we call solvers. And jointly, they co-create innovative solutions. And they do this in 4 sequential steps. So Innovire helps organizations to identify and describe their unmet innovation needs. Then second phase, find and connect them with innovation suppliers, so the phase that we are currently at. What will come next? Next will come the co-creation of pilots between the challengers and the innovative companies. And finally, Innovire offers legal support to prepare a tender to purchase the co-created solutions. And as you can see, there is funding attached to each one of the different 4 actions. And up until now, we have been working with a selection of 15 challengers, supporting them to improve the description of their unmet innovation need. And we are currently in the 2nd phase of the program, as I was saying, where we will help challengers connect with innovation providers. So innovation providers will be able to propose solutions to the Innovire challenges by applying to the call for solvers that we will launch in October. And the selected applicants can get up to 58.5k euros to co-create a pilot with a challenger. And this pilot will take place in a 10-month period. So exciting news are coming. So stay tuned to learn about when the call for solvers is launched, and you can do this by following Innovire channels, our website, our social media channels, and subscribing our newsletter. But now let's move to the most interesting part of the event, what you are waiting for. So I will give the word to Jean-Marc Territ from the Delft University of Technology to present us their challenge. So I will stop sharing my screen now to give you the floor. So I believe Jaga will be supporting, presenting the slides. Here it is.
Great. Well, thank you very much for all the nice words and introductions. I think it's an important effort that is to the benefit of us all in Europe. And I'm happy to specifically mention our challenge and how we can work together. It's called MDR-prep, and this is basically who we are. The Delft University of Technology. I think it suffices to say that we have a long-standing history and loads of different focus area. But it's important to realize that we also work in these cross areas of medicine. So regenerative medicine, but also medical robotics. And we are indeed closing relationships with a university, a medical university in Rotterdam. So, oops. our challenge. So what is going on currently is that if you are an institute, this can be a University of Applied Science or a technical university, or even a small company or even a middle-sized company, you may be engaged in developing all kinds of medical devices. And it all starts with an idea. And at some point, you want to test it. And lately, there is this new legislation enforced, which is called the Medical Device Regulation. It's for Europe, and it basically stipulates a format by which you have to abide a lots of rules and regulations before you are allowed to actually bring your product into a clinic to test it, let alone to bring it on the market. As this is rather complex, it's difficult for typical research universities and other smaller companies to realize what is required to actually abide to these new regulations. So what we want to do is to make a quality management system that is hooked up with all kinds of standard operating procedures and templates and guidance that will track you through the first stages of development in such a way that you don't have to redo certain tests and redo your engineering, and therefore maximize the chances to actually go to the next level and apply for CE and do some testing with real patients, because that's what we all want. So the next slide. So what we actually want to achieve is to have an electronic version of this quality management system that to a certain extent is compliant to this new law, the medical device regulation. That means that you are able to timely and formalize your own development steps in an organized manner. So it's a good preparation to go to CE approval later on. And again, it also guarantees the patient's and users' safety in a very strict and proven manner. It also allows, if you fulfill this quality management system as a first setup for a medical ethical approval document, which called is the IMDD. I'm sorry for all the abbreviations, but then you are basically allowed to enter after such an approval of the medical ethical committee, then you are allowed to test it on patients in the real life situation. And that is, of course, essential for the clinical evaluation and also the first steps to market launch. So what we really want to do is to make something that is light in a way, but very sturdy and based on the regulations in order to support early innovation and to also work together to improve the opportunities for those innovations to go to market, and therefore work to cost savings as well, because that's really needed. So our system really is supporting the students, engineers, and developers alike to operate within the regulations of those laws in a controllable and foreseeable and guided manner. So what are the challenges that you may actually encounter? So to give you some example, a quality management system is based on a flow chart. So in all normal cases, you have to follow certain processes and you have to describe your processes. For the early development, a simple flow chart will suffice. But that doesn't mean that certain things, like, for instance, let me see, you have to use third-party documents for all the components that you buy and use, you have to make sure that if you use experts on certain technologies, that they are having the right expertise, proven expertise, and you have to log their curriculum vitae as well. And those are all new regulations. Also important is that you have a bill of material, and which means that all the components need to be traceable. You need to know which device or version of your device has what component. Last but not least, you are supposed to write down your decisions on your choices in development, your engineering choices. And that altogether should be presented in this new quality management system, facilitated with SOPs and templates, and with authorization of certain steps in order to finally have a document that will be part of the approval for the medical ethical committee to go into the clinic. So we believe, and I'll start with the expertise, because we bring as a university a lot of expertise, specifically on the knowledge on the MDR itself, on the regulation. But we also have an association with loads of hospitals, i.e. the observer challenges, and they are able to provide us feedback immediately on feedback on real cases, because those cases of real devices will challenge the final system that we are preparing. And of course, and this is the most important thing for today, we need solvers that are capable of designing around the content that we know into a electronic device that has all the loops and feedbacks and authentication processes in place. And I think SharePoint seems to be the most relevant environment for now. And of course, it will be in English because that's the most common language for any medical device development. To give you an insight, we have a number of institutes aligned already, and they have written letters of, how do you say that? Letters of commitment that they will join us. So what is really important in the pilot conditions, that is that those medical devices are limited to a certain degree, because the law, the MDR legislation, goes all the way up to full CE approval and market approval and market surveillance. And we are in the early phase, so we limit ourselves up to a certain Article 82, which is still the first clinical, not use, but clinical testing. Anything beyond that, that shows efficacy, etc., is not allowed. And this is intentionally, because this will make it palatable for loads of researchers and students, and the first exploratory experimentation without the burden of having a full-blown QMS available. So it's also limited to Class 2B. Anything beyond that, that's a classification for the severity of the regulations. So anything that stays inside the body is not allowed. What we also want is to make sure that we do a risk assessment, and for that we need those experts and with their proven CVs, and they're all part of the current consortium. So all those elements are in place. At the end of the day, we'll validate some test records and prove that this works. The other thing which requires a lot of documentation is that one of the regulations stipulates that if you do some testing to release your product, even for the first testing in the clinical environment, all those tests have to be done using calibrated equipment. And also the QMS that we are preparing will dictate that this will happen. And otherwise it cannot be released. That's the whole intention. So what are we expecting? We are expecting that we'll have a development of the first beta version, which is probably takes up to 6 months. And then we will test the QMS system with at least 10 existing files to see how it works, whether the uploads work, whether the feedback loops work, and the authentication. And that's up to 10 cases. So for the long term, we believe that may take up to 36 months. We want to have real cases involved and to get them up to the medical ethical committee approval, if that's possible, which takes normally up to 10 to 16 months. So this is on top of the 6 months at least. We also want to have the implementation of the software of the MDR-prep at observers institutions because, and we have at least 3 of them, probably we added another 2 from Spain. So we are capable of training the users group as well, because it's often for students and even for some researchers new how they should interpret all the legislation and regulations. So there's a big chunk will be part of the training of all those people. And last but not least, in certain cases, it's really required to have awareness, because sometimes students end up doing 2-3 years of development and then realize there is something like the MDR regulations and they are in dire straits. They need to go back and redo a lot, and we want to avoid that. Okay, so that's general KPIs. I think that is pretty much clear. We, of course, want to make sure that the number of approved clinical trials with medical devices is up, and it will generate at least, we believe, more successful releases on the European market that on its own should be a helpful contribution to reduce the cost of public health. So what's the business opportunity? It's I think we start with the Netherlands. It's important to realize that universities and public research centers, but even hospitals are benefiting from these kinds of structured quality management systems that will guide them and make sure that they have everything in place so they will not lose time, and they can approve submissions to the medical ethical committees themselves. And that includes startups and incubators. And if you look at the numbers, at least at Dutch level, the Netherlands, there are 14 big research universities and another 6 institutes and 88 public and private hospitals. And they all are potential market. And that will lead up to, well, if I'm right, 3,360 individual users. And if you extend it to Europe, you can read the multiplier. So it's a significant market. And we believe that you can ask a fair amount, and we are estimating between 3,000 to 5,000 euros per user to use this new kind of system. The system needs to be serviced and the system needs to be updated, of course. And you also receive training. That's part of the deal. So the market is sufficient, I would say. So to finalize, we do have some questions that we, with our limited understanding of SharePoint technology, but we have some questions for the solution providers. Because the timelines are rather daunting, we are wondering whether there could be a dedicated team possible that are experienced with SharePoint. And I just want to remind you the content of all the SOPs and templates we will provide, but to how they connect and how they work together into this QMS is something that we need to do together. Second point will be the maintenance and support, because this is a regulation that is still being, how do you say that? It develops, and you need to update it with new ISO standards, etc. So it is not just a simple thing, it needs to be maintained. Also, it's important that the provider in this solution provider also has certain standards that we could use and verify that they are eligible to work on this MDR proven QMS. And also important in this particular case that the Solver expert has some marketing and sales to specifically those institutes that are active on the medical device field. So those were the questions.
Thank you, Jean-Marc, for clarifying everything about your challenge. So as you can see, we are now reaching the discussion part of this event. The starting point are these questions that Jean just presented to us, but we want to give you the opportunity to contribute to the discussion, not only answering the or reflecting on the questions that you are seeing on the screen, but also posting questions of your own, questions that you have, something that it was not fully clear to you, some question that you would like to ask to the challenger, taking the opportunity that Jean and Jaga are here today and can contribute to the discussion. So you, the attendees, can now connect with us via two different ways. You can either raise your hand and we will give you the opportunity to turn your mic on and speak, and then you can read your own question. You can say your own question or your comment, what you would like to add. Or alternatively, you have here in Zoom a Q&A box that you can use if you prefer to keep your question anonymous. You can use this Q&A box to write your question, and we will read it and ask here our challengers to address your question. So giving the floor now to the attendees to jump in and join here the discussion, either by raising your hand or writing your question in the Q&A chat. Don't be shy. We are here today to take the opportunity of having our challenger here and take this opportunity to hear directly from them the answers to the questions that you may have. And we have a first question that came. I'm going to read it. So there are several QMS softwares on the market. Can you tell what features you didn't find in those solutions, or was it a pricing problem? And can you eventually point out to one or two QMS softwares that you consider a reference in the field? So two different questions. One, what features the current solutions don't present? And second question, what good references could you provide?
Yes. Well, thank you for the question. I think they're really relevant, so thank you. In essence, the MDR-prep, as preparation suggests, is a pre-runner of the existing full-fledged QMS systems. So in those full-fledged QMS systems, there are a number of MDR regulations that you have to abide to that are not relevant when you are still in the early phase. So it's less. What we offer is a comprehensive system that leaves everything out that is not relevant yet up to Article 82 of the MDR, the first testing in the hospital. If you go beyond that and you want to apply for CE, etc., then you have to use the current existing QMS systems like GreenEye, etc. There are a few of those. And I work with those as well, and they're fine, but they're much too complex for students and research institutions, and they basically do not use it. So to make it, well, dummify it a little bit, if I may, and to limit to the essential things that you need in order to get to the stage of applying for METC, that is what we offer. And that's really much less than the existing large and complex QMS systems out there. And yes, it's also a pricing thing because it's much too expensive to, get a QMS system for all your first dabbles and experimentation phase products that may not even go further because you have to pay for each and every product file, if you will, and that's much too expensive for research universities and hospitals.
Okay, I think it's answered. We have a new question. So the process of customizing a QMS tool is time consuming. Can you describe the team that will be involved in the co-creation, and if you have participated in this type of development before?
Yes, actually, I have been audited and auditing for MDR and CE, so I have personal, lots of experience on that. We use groups in the universities, for instance, that also have experience of, how do you say that, MDR regulation as well. So there is sufficient knowledge and hands-on experience on how to deal and how to interpret the MDR regulations. So that's the part that is covered. What we do not have is a party that can actually build up a SharePoint-based electronic version of it, that where all our basic information will fit in a sensible manner and controllable manner, including some authentication steps. As I mentioned, experts need to submit their CVs, etc. And only if that's done, you can go to the next phase. Those steps are required, and for that we need assistance of a solution provider.
Okay. So I recall you can keep sending questions via the Q&A box if you like, or if you prefer to speak, just raise your hand and we will give you the possibility to turn your mic on and speak directly with Jean and with Jaga asking your question. So we have one more question that just came in. So as you will be participating in the evaluation of the solvers, so as we said, we will launch an open call for solvers that is expected for October. So as you will be participating in the evaluation of the solvers, what is the most important evaluation criterion while choosing the one to co-create a solution with?
To be perfectly honest, I think it's having access to sufficient man hours to get the tight timelines. I think SharePoint as such it's not rocket science. It's just a lot of work and a lot of testing. So it's elbow grease that we need foremost. And I don't want to suggest that it's an easy peasy job. No. But it's also not rocket science. We're not making new software or, new algorithms.
Thank you. So we still have some time for more questions. If you are shy, you can just send them in written form and we will answer them. We still have some time. You can take advantage, but of course, once the session is this event is over, the discussion will not stop here. There will be other channels to continue the discussion later on. The F6S event page that you use to register for the event that we are here today has a section called discussion. So after the event, if you have questions that were not addressed here, or if you are seeing the recording of this session and you want to ask something, you can still send us your questions. You can use this discussion page to post your questions there. They will be visible for everyone and we will tackle them as they come. And I can see that Bertrand raised the hand.
Yes, thank you, Katja, and thank you again, Jean-Marc and Yaga for all the presentation and the details. I would be curious about, let's say, the timing of implementation of your piloting for acquiring this new solution. You have any idea? I think, did you mention this, or what's the timing more or less? It's in this year still, next year?
No, it will be next year. I think it would take 6 months to build a first beta version. So because it's rather complex, we need to make sure it works, and you will, as a novice user, you will get the right information whether you need to fill certain fields or not. So that's the burden of the work, but the actual testing can be done rather quickly with existing partners and existing cases. And then in order to make sure that it really works, but this is more for the marketing part, that we are aiming to have real cases that are developing and to follow them real time later on. And that may take up to 36 months. But in essence, we should be able to launch something, I would say, after maybe 16 to 18 months. But we'll keep at least track of what we need to update. And if I may, Katja and Bertrand, come back to what am I looking for solution providers, I think the maintenance and support after it has been built is also rather critical. But we do know it's not a frozen situation. Regulation will change, standards will change, and we need to adapt that.
Thank you, Jean-Marc. So we are in the final part of this event. Any last minute questions? You still have the chance to send them. If not, if everything is clear, seems like Jean-Marc, your presentation was super clear. No questions coming in. But as I said, and I'm sharing here the direct link. After the event, the discussion can continue at the discussion section of this event page. So if other questions arise after today, you can still send them to us. So I don't see any hand raised, and I don't see any other question on the Q&A box. So I think I can proceed to the final part of the presentation. So as I said, the discussion doesn't end here. The session is being recorded and it will be later on shared on Innovire social media channels, on the website, on YouTube. So if you are seeing the recording of this session and there is something that you would like to ask us, you can take advantage of the discussion page to reach out to us and send your questions. I also recall that we have a call for solvers coming in that will be launched in October. So you will have the chance to apply to tackle this challenge that you just were introduced to. And let me end by thanking the Delft University team for being here today and presenting them their challenge, answering the questions. And of course, thank you to the attendees for joining us today and for contributing with some questions. That will be all for today. Thank you so much and hope to see you soon.